This is episode 9 of Spiritual AF with Pixie Rose, the podcast for people going on their spiritual journeys, knowing that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Welcome to Spiritual AF. In today's episode, I'm going to share the power of Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. I discovered Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, or QHHT, from the Higher Self podcast, and it was actually nearly a year ago. And I'm going to put the link in the show notes to the Higher Self podcast episode that I listened to, but I believe that this is the number one spiritual podcast on iTunes at the moment. So I was completely amazed from what I heard on this podcast episode. I was completely blown away that I felt the need to sign up and start doing this myself. So I am a level 2 Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique practitioner, and I'm going to go through what exactly is QHHT, how it started, a little bit more about how I heard about it, my understanding, and also my experiences with the sessions that I've done with people. So what is QHHT? It was actually invented by a woman named Dolores Cannon. She did pass away a couple of years ago now, but she was amazing. And again, I'm going to put all these links to everything in the show notes. So I'd love to link the official QHHT website for you to get a bit more information, as well as a link to Dolores Cannon's YouTube channel. Because if you're interested in learning more about QHHT after this episode, because there is so much to learn from QHHT, it's the kind of rabbit hole that you want to go into. So Dolores has actually written like 15 books, and all inspired and transcribed from her sessions. So Dolores started as a hypnotist with her husband, doing typical sort of behavior type therapy, for people that want to lose weight and that sort of thing. I believe that her and her husband actually worked with people that may have experienced trauma and different mental issues and different things like that from experiences within the military. So one of her sessions that Dolores was doing, the client spontaneously goes into a past life. So this was in the 70s, before past life regression was even a thing, or no one was talking about past life regression, I don't believe, in the 70s. It was a very, very new thing for people. This experience for Dolores is what created her first book. So this book's called 5 Lives Remembered, and she took this woman through 5 lives. She went through 5 different past life regressions. So Dolores learnt this healing technique through her hypnosis sessions. So she learnt how to do a past life regression, and then discovered that she could also access the subconscious, or the higher self, through these sessions as well. So the subconscious, or your higher self, has all the answers to everything. So that's everything to do with your past, present, and future. The subconscious is your truth. So Dolores discovered this by talking with the client's subconscious, and she discovered that healing was also possible in these sessions as well. So Dolores was able to heal anyone with any issues through her hypnosis sessions. So this is stuff like cancer, repairing cartilage between bones. Any surgeries of any kind were just no longer necessary after a healing session with Dolores. And Dolores became so inundated with clients that she started teaching this amazing healing to others. So there are practitioners all over the world, and there are 3 levels. So level 1, level 2, level 3. And again, you can go onto the QHHT website and find a practitioner near you. So I'm located in Gippsland, for anybody in regional Victoria, and I've achieved my level 2 certificate. So a bit more about how I discovered QHHT. So before I listened to this podcast episode, I actually did a reading for somebody. So as I've mentioned in the second episode, I have my own business called Pixie Steps, and I do psychic readings, mediumship readings, and some self-love coaching, soul calling coaching, and things like that. So intuitive work is what I do within my business Pixie Steps. And I did a psychic reading for a client, and after her reading, her intuition was telling her that I would give her a healing. And I explained to her that at that point I wasn't doing healings, I just did psychic readings. But I would open myself up to this possibility of doing healings by asking the universe, what kind of healing did I need to learn? So that's all I did, was I just said, okay, universe, what kind of healing do I need to learn? And then literally a few days later, it came up on this podcast that I love to listen to. I've nearly listened to every single episode. And I was like, I need to do this healing. It excited me so much. And you know when something is truth, or when, you know, it is your true calling, because you get this sensation of, I need to do this. Because I've had other experiences listening to the podcast or different things and hearing about different things that you could learn, or, you know, different healing modalities or whatever it is. And I always think like, oh, I could do that. But with this, with QHHT, I was like, I need to do that. And part of the reason why I felt like I needed to learn this healing was because it just felt so incredibly aligned to what I was already doing. So I have felt like I do connect people with their higher selves within my readings, because I connect to people's souls. So I always explain to people that I'm not a typical psychic. So I'm not great at knowing how many kids people have, or if they're married, or really general like 3D sort of stuff like that. Like sometimes it does come up, but it's not my specialty. Often people will go and see a psychic, and you know, the psychic will say, oh, I can see you having 2 kids, and I can see you getting married, and I can see you going on this holiday, or you know, whatever it is. And that's not the kind of thing that you'll get from me. So my specialty is connecting with your soul's deepest desires, knowing how you are feeling. And for some people, I am able to verbalize exactly how they were feeling at the time, where they just couldn't work out how they felt about anything, or how they felt about life or their relationship. And I was able to connect to their soul and have a conversation with it. You know, I have a conversation with people's souls and also their guides. So my guides speak to their guides, and I get information that way. So these are people that can't connect to their emotions. So what I do in my readings is I wake people up from their numbness, and I know what they're passionate about, and I inspire them to follow their soul's calling. That's what you'll get from me from one of my readings. So I already felt like I was connecting people to their higher selves, but using the hypnosis method, people hear this truth straight from their soul, directly from themselves. And I'll explain exactly how QHHT works soon. But you hear it from yourself. So when we say that we're connecting to your subconscious is talking through you. In a psychic reading, when someone tells you, or when a psychic or whoever, a coach or whatever, tells you something, you might not listen to it because, you know, psychics can get it wrong sometimes. But there's also just like, you know, it's almost like listening to your mum or your dad or whatever. They'll tell you like, I know that this is going to happen, and you don't listen, okay? But hearing the same information from yourself, or hearing yourself give you answers to questions that you had, is just so empowering. So that was the first reason why I wanted to do QHHT. And then the second was past life regression was something that I had a very big interest in. So I also give past life readings. So often when you get a reading from me, you are getting past life information, also soul incarnate information, because I work with the fairies and enchanted realms and that sort of thing. To have a person actually go back and get to relive their past life just amazed me. And I knew that this was possible. I'd heard of past life regressions, like simple past life regressions, really. And even for myself, I have been able to do my own past life regressions using meditation. But I knew that the method of QHHT was just completely different. So I was so interested in that. Also in my readings, I will also be able to pick up on what healing a person needs. So whether it be emotional or physical, but like I will tell them, I feel that there's some blockages within the heart, emotional healing that needs to be there, or there's physical healing around your knees, or, different organs, or whatever it is, stomach issues. I'll, pick up on different physical healings, emotional healings. But I wouldn't know where to direct them to get that healing from. So I'd just say, like, this needs to be worked on. And then they'll say, the client will come back and say, how can I release those blockages in my heart? Or how can I fix these issues within my stomach, or whatever it is? And I honestly wouldn't know how to help them. So again, like, having an opportunity to give someone a reading to pick up on these physical issues or emotional healing that needs to be done, and then be able to say, I can help you with that. I was so excited about that. So in the training, we hear lots and lots of stories from Dolores telling about the healings and the amazing results that she has had with people. And that just blew my mind. Things like, as I mentioned, cancer and all of these things were just completely gone. So you would go and see Dolores and she would spend a few hours with you, and you'd get to lay down for like 2 hours, and then magically, it just seemed like magic, you were just healed. It's incredible. So as soon as I finished listening to that podcast episode, I did a Google search and quickly worked out that the only way that I could learn that healing method was through QHHT directly. So I jumped on the website and I signed up to achieve my level 1 certificate online. I was taught by the late Dolores, which was amazing and inspiring. So they were able to film her in-person classes, and it's all there online. And it was really, really thorough and helpful. I really loved my online level 1 training. And then I started doing sessions. And my very first session just blew me away. So it was with a close friend, and all we did was the past life regression. I didn't want to rush into connecting with the subconscious and trying to achieve lots of healing straight away, because it is quite an extensive healing. So it's not like a typical sort of Reiki session. And I'll explain a bit more about the process of QHHT, but I didn't rush into it. My first ever session, I just focused on some past life regressions. So this friend of mine, he's been a lifelong friend of mine, and when he went into a past life, his voice completely changed. Like, he was not in this day and age anymore. So he went into a past life as a native Indian, and one of the issues that he wanted to address was that he was having some pain in his left shoulder. And what we're taught with QHHT is that anything physical on your left side of the body is past life, and then the right side is current lifetime issues. So we knew that his left side discomfort within his shoulder was a past life issue. And then what happened as he regressed into that lifetime was he was actually shot with an arrow in the back or I can't remember, it was an arrow or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was an arrow. Like, it was quite some time, very, very native, indigenous Indian. So that pain just completely lifted after he went through that past life regression. So I was just so amazed, and I continued to do sessions. Somebody came to see me, and she was experiencing endometriosis. So there was healing there, and she, her subconscious told her why she was experiencing the endometriosis. That's one of the biggest things with QHHT, is we always, as a practitioner, need to ask, why is this happening? And then we ask for the healing, because there's a reason for everything, whether it's emotional or physical, or, there's messages within the body all the time. Everything means something. So there was a reason why she was experiencing endometriosis, and then understanding that reason and going through that past life regression, connecting that life with her current life, she was able to heal that. And with my sessions, I've achieved a lot of emotional healing. Another common theme within my sessions that I've seen is a lot of people reconnect with their family members. They realize that they have karma with family members, or they are just able to relate to them, or they connect to that deeper unconditional love through their sessions. So that's been an incredible occurrence to see within the sessions, is people reconnecting with their family members. Another common theme is self-love, and I do self-love coaching. It's a massive, massive thing that we all need to go through. If you don't love yourself, you don't have a lot of love to give anybody else. But the self-love that people naturally achieve within their session by talking and connecting with their subconscious is so beautiful. So I achieved my level 1, and I was doing my sessions, and there's a bit of background story first, I guess. Was sort of maybe a year or two before I was doing my training, my level 1 training, I used to attend psychic development, like classes and groups and stuff like that. And in one of these psychic development groups that I was doing, the person giving me the reading told me to look out for something to do with Egypt. So when I heard that, I didn't necessarily think that I would be going to Egypt, because Egypt was never really on my top lists of places to travel. But I thought it could just be something Egyptian themed. So something was going to come up in my life. So whether it was like an Egyptian goddess healing, or Egyptian cards, or Egyptian symbols that might help me, or something, or even just a movie that might be, I had to look out for something to do with Egypt. So I held on to that, and I was like, okay, I'll look out for something to do with Egypt. So as I mentioned, I'm doing my sessions and completing my level 1, because you have to do 25 free sessions to achieve your level 1. So as I was doing that, I received an email with an invitation to complete my level 2 training in Egypt. So as soon as I got the email, I was just like, oh my God, I have to go. This is the thing that I was told to look out for. Look out for Egypt. And then suddenly I'm getting an email inviting me to go to Egypt to do my level 2 training. As I mentioned, I loved my online training, but there was questions that I had. There was different experiences that people had within their sessions, and I wanted to make sense of that. There was also people that Dolores does describe them as left-brained people, and they're people that aren't great at visualizing. So there were certain things that I was struggling with just my level 1 training. And then I get invited to go to Egypt, and I was just like, okay, obviously I have to go. So I did. I signed up to complete my level 1 training in September. And then I did go to Egypt in December to get my level 2. So the whole experience just happened so quickly. And as I mentioned, I've been doing this for almost a year now, which is crazy exciting. But Egypt was freaking life-changing. And I'm definitely going to share more about Egypt and that trip and the healing that I received and the people that I met on many, many more episodes to come. So I won't leave you hanging there. Also, I've got heaps of people that I'm going to bring on the podcast as guests, people that I met in Egypt. So yeah, you'll definitely hear more about Egypt. But I wanted to explain a bit more about how does the QHHT session work, okay? So this is always a big question. And the value of these sessions are, like I said, it's not just something that you'd sniff about. It's not just like a typical Reiki session or anything like that. So generally, someone with a level 2 achievement will charge around $450 Australian. And I will put my link to my website. At this stage, I'm only charging $222, and my prices will go up now that I've been doing it for a year. So definitely let me know if you're interested in a healing session. And you need to allow nearly 8 or 9 hours for this session. Okay, so it can go for a whole day. Dolores says it takes as long as it takes. Even if you got to come back the next day, if you don't get it all done in one day, then she will see the person the next day, because it takes as long as it takes. So there's a bit of preparation before your session. It's something that you need to commit to in a way. You need to be ready to receive this healing. And I did feel like within the free sessions that I offered, because there wasn't a energy exchange of money or something like that, some people didn't take their session very seriously, and maybe the level of healing would have been different if they had committed to it and committed to a whole day and paid for it. So I do believe that there's definitely a power in that exchange and paying for a healing. So before your healing session, you need to make sure that you're ready for it. Before your session, you need to create 25 questions that you want to ask your subconscious, and that will include any healing that you are needing, so any physical healing of any sort. So then you'll arrive for your session, and what I would do with you is I will go through any physical issues that you may be having. So anything at all, whether it's teeny tiny or whether it's big, like chronic issues, any physical issues that you're having, okay? And then you get to tell your life story. So this is the part that takes the longest for some people. And I have done sessions on people that are in their 70s, so they've got a whole lot of life to tell you, because you want to tell your life story with as much detail as possible. You want to go into all the nitty-gritty. You want to talk about any traumas that you've gone through. Everything means something. And I need to understand your life and the people that are in your life. Dolores calls them characters, like it's a movie. So then after you tell your life story, then I will go over your questions and make sure that I understand them all. And also we might even add questions after you've told your story, because there may be things that come up within your story that you haven't thought about. So we'll add questions usually. And then we'll go into the session. So before you do your session, you'll have a bathroom break, because I have had to take one person to the bathroom in the hypnosis. But once you're under the hypnosis, you can't really just get out, like once you're in that deep trance, you've got to stay in it. So another thing that I actually forgot to mention is that Dolores, so she was a traditional hypnosis therapist, and a lot of hypnotist therapists use the first level of trance. And what she started experimenting with was taking people into the second state of trance, which is the Theta state. And when I experienced this session on myself, that was definitely the first time that I'd experienced Theta. So in meditation, I was in that first state of trance. Okay, so the Theta state is the state that you naturally go into just before you fall asleep and just before you wake up. So what we do as the hypnosis therapist is we keep you in that theta state of trance. So once you're in there, you don't want to be wetting yourself. But yeah, so we take you to the bathroom, and the hypnosis will last for 2 hours max. You're not supposed to keep anybody longer than 2 hours. And when you're in that hypnosis, 2 hours is going to go by very, very fast. So often when people come out of the hypnosis, the first question that we are supposed to ask is, how long do you think that went for? And they will say, oh, maybe 20 minutes, but generally a good 2 hours have gone past. In the hypnosis, I get you nice and relaxed. You're lying down on a couch or a bed with a blanket on, and I have a special hypnosis voice that I use. And I take you on a little journey. So you go up on a cloud and then you land in the most appropriate time and place, which is your past life regression. And as I mentioned, I don't know if I have mentioned, but generally people will go into a past life. Some people will just go into past memories of this lifetime. Some people will go into the future. You can go anywhere. You really don't know what to expect. And you can't even expect anything. That's the best way to go into a QHHT session, is have no expectations. Or really, that's the best way to live life. But another podcast episode on that. And even some people, they may experience a life as a plant or an animal. In my second session, I had somebody go directly to source and witness or create the Big Bang and the creation of the universe. So you never know where you're going to go. It's very exciting. So you go through your past life regression, which will take an hour. Some people go through 2, some people go through 4. It just depends on how quickly you're able to describe what you're experiencing. And then you have an hour for your subconscious. So that's the part where I ask all of your questions, and that is where you get the percentage of your healing. Okay? And as I mentioned, all healings are possible. So if you're interested in more information about QHHT, because as I mentioned, there's so much here, that's why Dolores created a whole YouTube channel, and she's spoken on many, many different things and aspects and experiences that she's had within her own sessions. She's written 15 books on this, and there are literally thousands of QHHT practitioners all over the world doing sessions every day. So there's so much that we could go into with this. If you're interested as well, I have a video on my YouTube channel, which I'll put a link in the show notes for. My YouTube channel is just Pixie Rose. And in that video, I invited a couple of people that have received sessions from me, and they were able to describe exactly what they experienced in their sessions. And I shared a little bit about my session as well. I also share different information about QHHT in my sessions on Facebook and Instagram, so make sure you're following me on there. I think I would definitely like to work towards achieving my level 3, and I believe that the way to do that is you have to have at least 100 sessions completed, as well as being able to help other people achieve their qualifications too, and help people understand the QHHT method. So this healing is done in person, and Dolores is very, very stern on that QHHT is done in person. But there is beyond QHHT, which is a varied method. How do I explain it? And I guess I'm not great at explaining it because I haven't experienced a beyond quantum healing session, and I'm not trained in it. But what I understand is that it is different to QHHT. There is different modalities that you need to use to achieve the healing online, okay? But I would love to do a Beyond QHHT episode. I did make friends with the amazing Mario from Germany, and I'd love to get him on and he can explain a bit more about his sessions. So there are people that work online using a similar method to QHHT, but as I mentioned, it's a bit more in depth in what you need to do. But that is QHHT for you. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to follow this podcast for more interdimensional conversations on all things life, death, and everything in between. And remember, if your wings have been clipped off, they can always regrow.